And gentlemen, welcome to the ceremony of opening for signature of the Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law. Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue à la cérémonie d'ouverture à la signature de la Convention cadre du Conseil de l'Europe sur l'intelligence artificielle et les droits de l'homme, la démocratie et l'état de droit. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Evelina Dobrowolska, Minister of Justice of the Republic of Lithuania, the floor is yours.
Madam Secretary, Madam Vice President, Commissioner, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and of course, labas rytas, those who already learned Lithuania. Today's signing of Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights, Democracy and Rule of Law marks a moment of profound significance for our society, as all of us here today stand to witness an advance of human rights standards that will strengthen the rule of law and balance our innovation growth. The Convention sets out legal framework that ensures artificial intelligence systems operate ethically and responsibly. It solidifies the requirement for human rights impact assessments, enforcement standards for transparency and accountability, and includes protection against discrimination, safeguarding our democratic values in the world where artificial intelligence, new technologies, and innovations reach us everywhere and anywhere. Embodying the interconnected and global society we live in, countries from all over the world have to come together in preparation of this document. That is why this convention stands as testimony of the remarkable achievements we can accomplish working only together. I extend my deepest compliments to the Council of Europe for this initiative and for facilitating negotiations that have made this convention actually possible. I also extend my heartfelt congratulations for all of us leading the way into a new area when human rights are inherent in the development of artificial intelligence. So thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Maria Pecinovic-Buric, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, the floor is yours.
Madame la Ministre de la Justice de Lituanie, chère Evelina, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres,
Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, Vice President of the European Commission, Commissioner for Human Rights, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the Lithuanian Ministry of Justice for organizing the signing of this treaty. This is a very important moment. The values of the Council of Europe are eternal. Therefore, it is very important that we act together in order to implement them and in order to respond to today's challenges. Without a doubt, artificial intelligence has a lot of potential to improve our lives. However, we see that these changes are already happening. However, we shouldn't forget the risks that are appearing. Because of this, we cannot ignore this. From the Council of Europe's perspective, it is important to ensure that as the technologies develop, we should abide by our norms and foster them. Therefore, this convention was drafted in order to achieve these goals. This is the first international convention of this kind, and the text is a well-balanced and solid text.
all 46 Council of Europe member states, our observer states, and a range of other countries from around the world, as well as the European Union, and strong representation from both civil society and the private sector. This open and inclusive approach has ensured that the treaty benefits from multiple and expert perspectives, and that it is an open treaty with a potential of global reach. Now, we must move from theory to practice, and this ceremony signals important progress in that direction. With 10 signatures taking the opportunity to sign, I hope that these will be the first of many signatures, and that they will be followed quickly by ratifications, of which we need 5, including 3 Council of Europe member states, in order to bring the treaty into force. I look forward to that day in the interest of all citizens. And of course, I congratulate all of you here today in helping to bring that future so much closer deal together. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Thomas Schneider, Chair of the Council of Europe Committee on Artificial Intelligence. The floor is yours.
Secretary General, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It is a great honor for me to speak on behalf of the Committee on Artificial Intelligence at this opening for signature of the Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence, Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law. It has been a long journey from the preparatory work in the first ad hoc committee on AI, on the CAI, starting in 2019, until the formal adoption of the treaty negotiated by the CAI, by the Committee of Ministers on the 17th of May this year. I would like to underline the dedication, legal and technical expertise and political will to find common solutions to common problems demonstrated by all delegations throughout the challenging negotiation process. It was and still is a spirit of creating an instrument that not only in Europe, but for all countries in the world that uphold human rights, democracy and rule of law is urgently needed to jointly assure that existing standards in these regards are also respected when it comes to activities related to AI systems. A new journey starts today with the opening for signature. We're very happy to see so many countries and a remarkable number of countries signing the convention already at this day. We are looking forward to many more to join soon, and then of course hope that ratifications will also come soon and make the convention a living document. At the same time, the CAI's work is not over yet. In 10 days, we'll meet in Strasbourg to work on what we call a HUDERIA, which is a methodology for human rights, democracy and rule of law risk and impact assessment, which will be an important tool helping us all to implement the convention in practice. So today we look forward to moving to the next phase of ensuring the implementation of the Framework Convention, which, due to the unique way in which it was elaborated, has the potential to become the global standard for a forward-looking, balanced and comprehensive regulation of AI. Let me end by thanking first the 57 states, the EU, and indeed all those many other participants and observers from all stakeholder groups who contributed to us succeeding in performing this major task. Then I would also like to thank the members of the CAI Bureau and the Council of Europe Secretariat for their hard work and dedicated support. In particular, I would like to thank the 3 persons with which I was working very closely for more than 2 years, in some moments almost day and night. After 20 years of working at and with the Council of Europe in different functions, they were the best secretariat and partners I could have imagined for this very demanding task from all necessary viewpoints. Their substantive knowledge, their professional and diplomatic skills, their efficiency and dedication, but also their quality as human beings and as a team were unique and the key to our joint success. So Christian Bartoli, Louis Riondel and Vadim Pak, I will never forget this period of my life that I had the privilege to share with you. So it has been a great honor for me to chair the negotiations on this treaty And I look forward to continuing to participate in this cooperation between partners that share a common vision of how to harness AI for the common good of humanity. Thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now invite in alphabetical order the representatives of the states and organizations having expressed their intention to sign the Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law. For Andorra, Mr. Joan Leon Peso, Secretary of State for Justice and the Interior. Mr. Leon Peso, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Mesdames et Messieurs, le développement exponentiel de l'intelligence artificielle issu des rapides avancées technologiques de ces derniers temps constitue un grand défi.
Ladies and gentlemen, the development of AI is challenging. Therefore, it is very important for us to solve those issues multilaterally in order to ensure human rights protection. That's why we are participating in the signing of the ceremony of this convention. The signing ceremony of this convention. This convention is going to play a very important role when determining the international standards of use of AI. We seek to ensure that the technologies of artificial intelligence are respect the fundamental human rights and strengthen the rule of law. This convention sets clear principles and guidelines for the states when combating possible abuse, and it is important to ensure multilateral cooperation at the international level. This will allow us to use various legal processes through the use of AI, and of course the integration of countries in this convention will ensure mutual cooperation and confidence with each other. The Duchy of Andorra is honored to be one of the primary countries to sign this convention, which shows our commitment to strengthen the human rights protection system and the technological progress. Thank you very much.
For Georgia, Mr. Rati Bregadze, Minister of Justice. Minister, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank my Lithuanian colleague for excellent organization of this event and for inviting me. Regarding this convention, I'd like to say that this convention will mark the milestone in the modern development of the law, which should have a solid foundation in the human rights. Ministry of Justice of Georgia is responsible for development of digital governance in Georgia, and during our work we noticed that there was no equilibrium between fast expansion of technologies and appropriate legal grounds. And first of all, I'd like to mention that it's most important part to keep the balance between the human rights and between the fast development of artificial intelligence and technologies used in law. And this year we are going to establish first center for artificial intelligence in Georgia. Today is an honor for me that we are among the pioneers in signing the convention, and I do hope that the integration of artificial intelligence into justice systems holds the promise of enhancing efficiency and balanced outcomes. Thank you.
For Iceland, Mr. Martin Ejjolfsson, Permanent Secretary of State of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Ejjolfsson, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary, Ministers, dear colleagues, let's start by thanking the Lithuanian Minister for Justice for the hospitality and for organizing this treaty signing ceremony, and also for the good weather you brought here. We haven't had a good summer in Iceland, so this is a nice extension. I would also like to thank the Council of Europe for achieving this work after 2 years of broad consultations. There are severe challenges ahead of us ensuring that artificial intelligence is addressed internationally, not least as this technology has no borders. IA is already with us, changing the information that we receive, the choices that we make, and the ways in which our societies function. In the coming years, it will play an even greater role in how our economies and industries operate, and in how our citizens live, interact, and participate in their public and private life, including in democratic processes. We all know that IA presents both benefits and risks. It can contribute to the promotion of human rights, but it also can pose a range of serious challenges to those same rights. This includes violations of the right to privacy, challenges to the quality of and authenticity of information, the spread of hate speech, and the promotion and normalization of gender-based violence. Rapidly developing technologies and artificial intelligence will also increasingly affect how we tackle our national security concerns. During Iceland's presidency in the Council of Europe, we emphasized the need for the Council to develop standards in the digital area to safeguard human rights online and offline. We are therefore pleased to sign the Council's Convention on Artificial Intelligence. The Convention includes a strong, balanced text on a broad consultations that I welcome. It is indeed vital to include the private sector to ensure the effectiveness of the Convention worldwide. We will hopefully ratify the Convention soon, and of course one of the strengths of the Convention that is open for third parties, and we hope for a wide and broad participation. At home, we are exploring how to strategically invest in research and education within the IA field, assessing the potential integration of IA technologies across diverse sectors, with a specific emphasis on applications in healthcare, renewable energy, and various industries. Although it is clear that IA will revolutionize many aspects of our lives, we, countries that fight for democracy and protection of human rights, need to stand together in ensuring that these values are protected and promoted in the digital environment. Thank you.
For Israel, Her Excellency Ms. Hadas Wittenberg, Ambassador of Israel to the Republic of Lithuania. Ambassador Wittenberg, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary, esteemed guests, distinguished ministers, diplomatic delegates, and Council of Europe representatives. This beautiful city, rich in history, connects diverse parts of Europe and blends heritage and innovation, linking the past with the future. It is also the birthplace of the Musar movement, an influential Jewish school of thought that emphasized the importance of ethical behavior as a foundation of religious observance. An ethical approach to life centered on our shared humanity values is indeed crucial to all of our societal endeavors, which is why we are here to sign the world's first convention on artificial intelligence, rooted as it is in a deeply ethical approach to technological development. As artificial intelligence innovation advances, we have both the responsibility to reflect on its achievements and the foresight to anticipate, at least in part, its future impact. This convention strikes a delicate balance between fostering innovation and promoting responsible, human-centric AI development. Israel is proud to have contributed to this treaty, which will no doubt guide domestic and international policy for years to come. On behalf of all of my colleagues who have worked so hard to make this moment possible, I wish to thank the Secretariat and delegates who have been true partners throughout the negotiations. As you are aware, Israel is currently facing a multi-front war launched by those who seek to deny our right to exist as Jewish and democratic state. Despite those challenges, it was important for us to sign the convention today. Our presence here reaffirms Israel's commitment to the principle of responsible innovation, as well as the hope we share with our dear colleagues in the Council of Europe. It is the enduring hope for a future grounded in peace, human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Thank you.
For the Republic of Moldova, Ms. Veronica Mihailov Moraru, Minister of Justice. Minister, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary, Madam Minister, honorable audience, today we gather to mark an important moment in the Republic of Moldova's commitment to aligning with the European and international standards of human-centered innovation. By signing the Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence, Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law, Moldova reaffirms its dedication to a future where technology serves humanity, not the other way around. This convention is more than a legal instrument. It is a pledge to ensure that artificial intelligence is developed and deployed in a way that remains centered on the human experience. In an age where technological advancement is fast and far-reaching, it is essential that we keep the human in the loop, maintaining human oversight, judgment, and responsibility at the core of AI systems. By upholding this principle, we ensure that AI not only advances innovation, but also respects and enhances the dignity, rights, and freedoms of every individual. This convention will guide all of us in implementing a comprehensive national framework for AI governance, ensuring that our technological progress is always in harmony with the fundamental rights and freedoms that are the bedrock of our democracy and the rule of law. The signing and the after ratification of this framework convention are a testament to Moldova's recognition of the crucial balance between fostering innovation and safeguarding human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. We acknowledge that while AI holds big potential, it must be carefully governed to ensure that it serves the public good and enhances the well-being of our citizens. In closing, the Republic of Moldova is proud to join the international community in this endeavor. We stand ready to ensure that artificial intelligence upholds human rights and dignity and fortifies the pillars of democracy and the rule of law. Thank you for your attention.
For Norway, Mr. Hans-Petter Wessel, State Secretary of the Ministry of Justice and Public Security. Mr. Wessel, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary General, Minister, dear friends. On behalf of Norway, I'm very pleased to be able to sign this framework convention as the first ever international legally binding treaty on AI. The convention proposes a unified legal framework that we hope will serve as a global standard for AI regulation. If, and I say when, widely adopted, the convention can ensure that AI technologies are governed by a current set of principles worldwide. The convention addresses the inherent risk of AI, such as privacy invasion, discrimination, and the erosion of democratic processes, and places a strong focus on protecting human rights in the context of AI usage. This is particularly important as AI technologies become more integrated into aspects in daily life. In order for the convention to have the broadest possible impact, Norway has declared that we will apply the convention fully to private entities as well as the public ones. We hope many others will do the same. We look forward to continue international cooperation on the convention and its implementation.
For San Marino, Mr. Stefano Canti, Minister of Justice, Welfare and Family. Minister, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary General, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, today marks a significant milestone for the Republic of San Marino as we proudly join the list of first signatories to the Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights, Democracy and the Rule of Law. San Marino has always been committed to upholding the founding principles of the Council of Europe and believe that this convention represents a crucial advance in ensuring that this value are preserved in the face of rapid technological advancement that involve every sphere of the society. By signing this convention, the Republic of San Marino reaffirms the importance in establishing a common European legal framework that guides of development and use artificial intelligence in an ethical manner. We recognize the immense potential artificial intelligence holds for innovation and progress, but we also understand the crucial need to balance it with the protection of fundamental human rights and dignity. This convention is not just a legal instrument, it is a testament to your dedication to a future where technology serves humanity, enhances your democratic institution and strengthens the foundation of the society. Thank you.
For the United Kingdom, the Right Honourable Shabana Mahmood, Lord High Chancellor and Secretary of State for Justice. Minister, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Thank you so much. Friends, artificial intelligence has the potential to drive new economic growth, revolutionise productivity and transform our public services. The convention we have signed today is a crucial first step in building trust and confidence with the public on the innovations that will bring about these changes. Once ratified, it will provide essential protections in the use of AI, particularly to safeguard democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, domestically and globally, to ensure AI safety. The United Kingdom is proud to stand alongside our international partners, including the United States and the European Union, in making this a global endeavour. Together, we are laying the foundation for a future where AI can be a force for good, with the necessary safeguards in place to protect our shared values. That is why today is such an important first step. Thank you so much.
For the United States of America, Mr. Richard Verma, Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources of the United States of America. Mr. Verma, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Madam Secretary, ministers, ladies and gentlemen. It is really great to be here in Vilnius, and I'm honored to sign the first of its kind Global Convention on AI on behalf of the United States. I commend the United Kingdom, San Marino, Moldova, Norway, Andorra, Georgia, Israel, the European Union, and Iceland for leading the way and signing this convention. We know that respect for human rights, democracy, and the rule of law is fundamental to safe, secure, and trustworthy AI. As some countries dispute the relevance of international human rights law to new technologies and the internet, it is noteworthy to have the first global convention on AI focus solely on the protection and promotion of human rights and democratic values. The United States is committed to ensuring AI development and use benefits all people, protects their human and digital rights, increases access to economic opportunities, and reduces inequalities. Each of the provisions of this convention work toward this vision from principles such as transparency, accountability, and reliability to digital literacy and training and risk management practices. These concepts underpin U.S. policy domestically and internationally. For example, through President Biden's executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence, and through the U.S. International Cyberspace and Digital Policy Strategy, which focuses on digital solidarity to work with our international partners. Through these executive actions, we aim, like all of you, to advance a digital future that is rights-respecting and protects safety and security online. The March 2024 adoption by consensus of the US-led United Nations General Assembly resolution on seizing the opportunities of safe, secure, and trustworthy artificial intelligence systems for sustainable development also underscores the common ground the United States shares with Europe and democracies around the world on our approach to AI, even when the specific details of our approaches may differ. This convention provides a baseline for us to build on together as we advance our shared respect for human rights and democratic values in the context of AI. We congratulate the Council of Europe for its leadership in developing this convention. We look forward to continuing to work closely together to ensure human rights and democratic values are at the core of our approaches to AI. Thank you.
For the European Union, Ms. Viera Jourova, Vice President of the European Commission with responsibility for values and transparency. Vice President, the floor is yours before presenting the Secretary General with the full powers and signing the convention.
Madam Secretary General, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence technologies are full of promise. They have already started to help deliver significant benefits in so many fields, from healthcare, agriculture, or education to energy and transport. This is also true for one of the pillars of our democratic systems, the justice sector. AI can support case management, facilitate legal and factual research, help bringing cases to faster resolution, or assist judicial authorities in laborious and repetitive tasks, such as the anonymization of judicial decisions. At the same time, and this one of the key questions that bring us today, we cannot overlook the risks brought about by AI as this technology rapidly evolves to the enjoyment of fundamental rights and the functioning of our democracies. Or, to put it differently, how can we move forward while remaining true to who we are? An important answer for us is the European Union and its AI Act, the comprehensive AI law that entered into force a month ago. Our message here is that we want people to use AI, knowing they can trust what it has to offer. In our digital, interconnected world, these opportunities and challenges, however, do not stop at the borders of one region, let alone one country, or even one continent. We need global rules of the game, and this is why the convention we are signing today, our convention, is such a landmark step. It is the first legally binding instrument of its kind at international level. I was happy to see many like-minded partners beyond Europe actively participating in the negotiation of this treaty. This is a testimony that we share the same values, and I am particularly happy to see some of them confirming their commitment here today. Signing this convention, and I encourage others to do it soon, is a pledge to ensure that the design, development, and use of AI is compatible with human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, and is thus sustainable for our citizens and our societies. It is also a pledge to promote responsible innovation. This is why I am very proud to sign this convention on behalf of the European Union. And this is just the beginning. We must continue to work together to ensure that the continued development of groundbreaking technology is consistent with our common values. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the ceremony. May we now invite the speakers and the signatories together for a family photo, please. Thank you for your participation.
So good morning, labas rytas. Everyone is here, right? So we can start. So Madam Secretary, Madam Vice President, Commissioner, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor to address you today at the opening of informal conference of the Minister of Justice of Council of Europe. I extend my warmest welcome to each of you here in Vilnius. Before we begin, I would like to inform you that the opening speeches of this conference will be open to the press and streamed live on internet. We'll facilitate our discussion interpretation services in both English and French will be available through the event, so you can choose the language you prefer. So, dear colleagues, just a couple of days ago, all of us witnesses what no rule of law looks like. Russia's President Putin was welcomed in the International Criminal Court member state Mongolia with red carpet instead of arrest warrant issued by the court. And such a forfeit breach of international obligation makes clear that states neighboring the aggressor have only two choices: to be a country of the rule of law and democracy, but under constant threat of aggression, or to be its accomplice. Ukraine is fighting back the aggression now. Lithuania, 34 years ago, had also fought back in freedom from Soviet Union, because there is nothing more devastating for free and democratic nations than being subjugated by brutal dictatorship. It is not merely the loss of freedom and human rights. It is an attempt to erase the nation, its history, identity without perspective of justice. The lesson of our history is transparent. Responsible, accountable, and democratic government must ensure and respect for human dignity and defense of human rights. Therefore, being friends of Georgia, we follow the situation very closely and are deeply concerned by the adoption and implementation of so-called transparency of foreign influence law. That following words of Venice Commission involve significant negative consequences for the freedom of association, expression, the right to the privacy, and the right to participate in public affairs. From our history, we already know how crucial time is in administration of justice. With the passage of time, politicians change, evidence disappear, memories fade, as well as promises made for justice. For perpetrators of international crime, justice cannot wait. Because of its history has taught us anything, it is that impunity emboldens the aggressors. It encourages perpetrators to continue massive and systematic human rights violation on ever larger scale. International crimes continues to be committed in Ukraine every day. Just a couple days ago, in the brutal attack of Poltava, 53 persons was killed and 271 injured. According to information provided by Ukrainian NGOs, almost every fifth person in Ukraine is either a survivor or witness of a war crime. Yet the truth is not more even profound. Every single Ukrainian is a victim of international crime of aggression committed by Russia. And the precondition for establishment of special tribunal is clear: the blatant violation of UN Charter driven by the imperial ideology. Today, we will agree that Putin and his accomplices are responsible for the crime of aggression. But we still cannot agree that the time for the accountability is now. Justice has to wait for something that will never come. Is not justice, is not the rule of law, and it is the rule of power. For more than 2 years, we have been discussing modalities for the establishing of special tribunals. We have shown political will and pace with the establishment of International Center for Prosecution and the Crime of Aggression, and by expanding Eurojust mandate in months. We have also shown consensus for steadfast and fast decision by establishing of register of damage. But up to this day, it is more than comfortable to condemn and to deal with grave consequences of a crime of aggression than with fundamental cause, the crime of aggression, entailing fundamental political judgments. While looking for courage and political will to deal with the core international crime of aggression, it is also important to agree that domestic jurisdiction use uniform standards of criminal procedure, including collecting of evidence and verification, so that justice is not undermined in courtroom later. Following words of President Zelensky, justice is stronger than Kremlin's walls. Therefore, in our today's discussion, I encourage us to remember why we all came together with leadership of Ukraine, being the victim of a crime of aggression, to make sure that impunity does not prevail. All perpetrators of international crimes can be brought to justice, and all damage made by aggression against Ukraine is being paid by aggressor. Therefore, today I invite you all to share still existing challenges are hardly working towards accountability for international crimes committed against and in Ukraine, and making sure that justice is far-reaching. This conference is a critical opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to the principle of international law and human rights. Dear all, things that seem impossible at the time can happen if people believe and they have will to change it. We are gathered today in the place that symbolizes Lithuanians' history and values. As I have already mentioned yesterday during the dinner, 35 years ago, from the Gediminas Hill, Lithuanian segment of Baltic Way began, when people from Baltic states without mobile phones, social networks, and internet managed to stand in 650 kilometers line, reflecting our collective desire for freedom, justice, and independence. 4 years ago, Lithuanians gathered again at the Cathedral Square for the Freedom Way, standing hand in hand from Vilnius to Belarusian border, showing unwavering support for every democratic citizen of Belarus and for every victim of massive and systematic human rights violation in Belarus. Because values of Council of Europe and our democratic societies are not just words to be spoken, there are action to be taken. We must make sure that aggressors against Ukraine has far-reaching political, financial, and legal consequences, and take every measure within our power to send a clear message for authoritarian regime around the world. I invite you all today to make our stance clear, to stand together, hand in hand, for accountability for crime committed in and against Ukraine, and for all the core values that Council of Europe represents and was created to defend. With that, I am pleased to invite Secretary General of Council of Europe, Mrs. Maria Puchinovic-Buric, take the floor.
Thank you, Minister, our Minister of Justice for Lithuania, Ministers, Vice President of the European Commission, Commissioner for Human Rights, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure and honor to be here with you in Vilnius for this important conference. And I believe I speak on behalf of all of us that the warm hospitality we witnessed already yesterday and this morning, and the importance of this conference is to be thanked for great organization to the Minister, to the presidency, Lithuanian presidency of the Council of the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe, and also personal involvement of many people. So thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing in this respect. And you, ministers around the table, you are central to setting the onward course for justice in Europe. And here today, you have the opportunity to take the next steps forward on the path towards accountability for the international crimes committed in Ukraine. More than 2.5 years ago, into the Russian Federation's brutal and illegal war of aggression against Ukraine, and with the ongoing violence and developments on the battlefield over this summer, the need for accountability burns more brightly than ever, ensuring the systems and cooperation required for this. Helping national and international justice systems to work in tandem towards that goal. This is not always easy. It requires us to find the paths and gaps that exist and to address these in a way that is coordinated, coherent, and effective. We must be ready to extend the architecture of international justice, and in the declaration that it will be the outcome of this conference, will show your readiness to do just that. This involves complex issues. How do we ensure the proper collection of useful and authentic evidence? And how do we go about sharing that evidence legally and with integrity? This is about changing our practice, and that impunity ends and those responsible for core international crimes are brought to justice. Vitally important, the tools are already at hand. The Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court makes clear member states' obligations to cooperate. And I congratulate Ukraine on deciding to accede to it just 2 weeks ago. The Ljubljana Hague Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance helps countries to work together in investigating serious international crimes. And the Council of Europe has put in place a range of treaties and other crucial measures of direct relevance. These include the European Convention on Extradition, the European Convention on Mutual Assistance on Criminal Matters, and the Convention on the Transfer of Sentenced Persons, all of which have been ratified by every one of our 46 member states. The European Convention on the Transfer of Proceedings in Criminal Matters has also been joined by a clear majority of member states. Together, these instruments provide the main legal basis for international cooperation with Ukraine on criminal matters. Our committee of experts on these matters works to help member states overcome problems and apply the conventions. And since the beginning of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, each of its meetings has devoted time to addressing the impact on international cooperation, with Ukraine participating at the heart of those discussions. Moving forward, this work is vital, and so too is harnessing the jurisprudence of the European Court of Human Rights, whose judgments deal not only with the direct legal consequences of the Russian aggression, but separately have also clarified issues on the collection of cross-border evidence and the standards required for trials in absentia, which must, of course, be fair and in line with international human rights law. Par les réflexions que vous mènerez ici aujourd'hui, vous continuerez à mobiliser ce corpus de textes juridiques.
During your discussions, you are going to contribute to those legal acts and to expanding our experience. We will also expand the limits of our criminal law. This is one of the major objectives, and of course we know that we have to think about that boldly and in an innovative way. The conference that took place among the ministers of justice, which took place last year, has contributed to those efforts. First of all, we have launched the Ukraine Damage Register, which is actually now in full action. We have received thousands of claims regarding the destroyed homes. There will be other claims filed soon related to the disappearance or deaths of the relatives or next of kin. Also claims on the destruction of various infrastructure objects. This is the first vital step to create the international compensation mechanism. This mechanism is also important to determine the liability. The Council of Europe is ready to provide all the necessary support. Moreover, we are ready to support the work related to the special tribunal on aggression against Ukraine, irrespectively of the form that will be chosen. One of the possibilities that we are now considering is the bilateral agreement between the organization and Ukraine, which is actually based on the partial agreement. This already has certain legal precedents. We may revert to the previous trials where one of the parties used to be an international organization. For instance, we have the Sierra Leone Special Tribunal as well as the extraordinary Cambodge trial and the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. Our actions in order to achieve peace have to be grounded on justice. The Human Rights Court is a perfect example of an institution which is working effectively and which has been established within our institutional system. Our experience and stability and flexibility is just an advantage which we have if we decide to establish a special tribunal. Moreover, the working group will have to express itself on other important and complex issues. For instance, the competence of the tribunal, the definition of the crimes of aggression, and the application of immunity. All that has to be based on international law. That's why the international group has to provide to allocate all its working time in order to reflect on those issues. And first of all, and then this will be important in order to choose the most suitable model for the tribunal. What matters most is to execute justice. To execute justice and reimburse all the victims. Whatever the decision, we will support it. Undoubtedly, if we are asked to manage to lead those efforts, we are ready to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, the images that reach us from Ukraine shake us all. And they are heartbreaking. Every death, every injury of a person merits our exclusive attention. But of course, we cannot speak about liability without the rule of law. This has to be done both at the national and international level. It has to be done in a coherent and dynamic way. This conference is a possibility for you and us to make a step forward, a step reaching further than previously. And I have no doubts that you will make use of this opportunity for the benefit of Ukraine and its people, for the benefit of Europe and of the whole free and democratic world. Thank you very much. Have a productive conference.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. And now I would like to invite Lukas Savickas, member of the Lithuanian delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe, to speak on behalf of President of PACE, who unfortunately could not join us today because now we have Lithuanian version.
Well, thank you, Madam Minister, dear colleagues, ministers, ambassadors. It is quite an unusual situation for me as one of the delegates at PACE. Today, I have the honor to speak on behalf of our President of Parliamentary Assembly, and I think everybody who has at least once heard the President speak knows that he's a great orator. So for me, it's a big challenge today to deliver his exact speech to you, so I'll do my best, and here we go. Once again, dear Madam Minister, Madam Secretary General, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for inviting me to address this conference today as the President of Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. I would like to congratulate the Lithuanian Presidency of the Committee of Ministers, the Lithuanian Ministry of Justice, and you personally, Madam Minister, for putting these issues of delivering justice to Ukraine so prominently in Lithuanian Presidency's priorities. Just before starting the session, we have honored to follow the signing ceremony for the Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights and Democracy and the Rule of Law. Let's not be mistaken. This was not an ordinary event. The AI Convention is unquestionably a major step forward and will provide a springboard for continuous discussions and work on legal, cultural, political, and other ramifications of exponential rise in the use of artificial intelligence in all areas of our societies and lives. I have made this one of the priorities of my presidency, and I am eager to ensure that both within the Assembly's day-to-day functioning and as a focus in forthcoming reports and resolutions which will look at its impact from a range of perspectives. We are ready to use this powerful, exciting technology for the good of society in full awareness of the possible risks and maintaining always human control on what humans have created. From the outset, our Assembly strongly endorsed the development of this convention, and earlier this year we have unanimously adopted an opinion voicing our strong support to its adoption and entry into force as soon as possible. I would like to highlight also that it was prepared in negotiations bringing together not only our member states, but other countries, including the United States and Canada, as I knows, of course, no borders. It is a positive sign that the standards prepared within the Council of Europe are increasingly becoming the reference point not only for Europe, but in many cases for the rest of the world. The challenges we face today are global in their scope and impact, and it is right that the principles and values which guide the Council of Europe focus on these challenges should be shared with other regions of the world so that we can agree upon responses as a global community. And similarly, as regards the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine and its consequences, it is clear that this remains our principal preoccupation and one in which developing a common European and, as far as we can, a global position is critical. We must remain united, courageous, and determined. I am proud that it was our Assembly which first raised back in April 2022 the issue of accountability of Russia's Federation for all wrongful acts committed in and against Ukraine. Back then, we adopted practically unanimously our two resolutions on the consequences of Russian Federation's continuous aggression against Ukraine and on accountability, where we set out a range of proposals for calling the establishment of a comprehensive system of accountability and justice for the crimes committed by Russia in and against Ukraine. These proposals included, for the first time since the beginning of Russia's aggression, a proposal to set up a special ad hoc tribunal for the crimes of aggression. These ideas were considered as too controversial, too ambitious, and unrealistic at the time. The Assembly was even criticized for dreaming too much in the world of real politics. Today we have become a mainstream thinking, and we are discussed in a very practical terms at different international platforms, including within the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. And it is extremely encouraging to see that quite a few of them are now being implemented. And now operational international register of damage is an essentially critical and urgent centerpiece of a comprehensive system of accountability for violations of international law resulting from aggression. It will allow the evidence of all types of violations and damages to be collected, classified, and organized, so that as soon as it is possible, justice and reparation can be set in motion in legal framework provided by open partial agreement of the Council of Europe. But today, the war in Ukraine rages on, Ukrainians are dying, children's futures are being shattered, homes and infrastructure are being obliterated. We must never accept that this war is a normality. We must stay focused, motivated on doing everything within our power to bring peace to Ukraine. Not just any peace at any cost, but peace based on justice and respect for the rule of law. Peace that restores the territorial integrity and national sovereignty of Ukraine. Peace that fully addresses the consequences of Russian aggression. Peace that delivers justice to all victims. So let us be pleased at what we have already achieved, and always remember that we have more to do. Let us double and triple our efforts to complement the register of damage with other vital elements needed for a comprehensive and holistic system of accountability and reparation to address the war crimes and wrongdoing of Russia's Federation in Ukraine. It is now time to start turning the register into a fully fledged international compensation mechanism capable of adjudicating claims and paying out damages to victims. Deliberations are ongoing to use Russian assets frozen by Western states for this purpose. Several resolutions of our Assembly are showing the way how this can be done in full respect of international law. Another early proposal of our Assembly is now in a crucial phase, namely the creation of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression to hold the account the leadership of Russian Federation for what has been rightfully called the crime of crimes. To start a war which brings unspeakable suffering and misery to soldiers and civilians alike, on both sides, as I should like to add. The core group of 42 countries and organizations ready to set up such a tribunal are on the verge of agreeing on a compromise solution regarding the legal form and statute of the tribunal, and once again with an important role for the Council of Europe on the table. And the Assembly is keeping up the pressure on this. During our last plenary session in June, we took stock of the state of advancement on these matters and further developed our proposals so as to contribute in a concrete and meaningful way to the ongoing discussions. The Assembly concluded it is a unanimously adopted resolution that a special tribunal created by agreement between the Council of Europe and Ukraine and supported by a large partial agreement open to non-member states and other international organizations is now the best and most feasible option in terms of legal basis and political legitimacy for trying Russia's political and military leadership for the crimes of aggression. The Assembly invites and urges the core group to maintain the momentum towards a speedy establishment of such tribunal, and we do hope that this conference today will give strong impetus to the Committee of Ministers to move quickly on setting up necessary legal framework for this key body. Let me also congratulate the Netherlands for its generous offer to host the tribunal in The Hague, a most appropriate and significant location. And dear ministers, it cannot be said enough. The firm position of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe is that there cannot be any lasting peace of this war of aggression without justice and accountability. This has been proved in the past in recovering from so many wars and conflicts, and we must never forget the lessons learned. The Assembly will continue to advocate for creating and investing in a comprehensive system of bodies and mechanisms which will allow Ukraine and its international community to achieve this goal of justice and accountability for the sake of future peace. And I am certain that if we in Europe, with our partners, stand united with Ukraine, we will deliver the promises made by the leaders of our countries in Reykjavik in May 2023 to Ukrainian citizens who are so bravely resisting and defending their homeland, and who, in doing so, are defending the core values of human rights, democracy, rule of law on which the European continent rests. We must stay focused, innovative, and courageous. And thank you, and I look forward to a fruitful, productive discussion. And the last point, Slava Ukraini!
Thank you, Lucas. And I would like now to invite Deputy Minister of Justice of Ukraine for European Integration, Ms. Lyudmila Suhak, to give opening remarks online.
Dear colleagues, on behalf of the Minister of Justice and me personally, let me express our greetings to all the participants of this significant event. It is a great honor for me to take part in this conference and to express the support to the declaration of the Ministers of Justice of the Council of Europe. As of today, Ukraine has been the victim of a full-scale invasion by the Russian Federation for almost 3 years, not to mention the fact that the armed aggression of the Russian Federation began in 2014. Every day, the aggressor state commits the most atrocious international crimes for which there is no statute of limitation. This includes the entire spectrum of violations of laws and customs of war, namely crimes against our military personnel, against prisoners of war, against the civilians population, destruction of civilian infrastructure, civilian facilities. Russia's war against Ukraine is the largest and the most terrible war in Europe since Second World War. For this reason, we cannot allow the crimes committed by the aggressors to remain unpunished. It is important to bring to justice every representative of an aggressor state, both military and high-ranking officials, with representative of the Civilian Occupation Administration for International Crimes. To this end, the Parliament of Ukraine adopted the law on the ratification of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. Thus, Ukraine has demonstrated to the world its readiness not only to cooperate, but also to become a permanent member of the only permanent universal judicial body established to prosecute individuals for the international crimes. In addition, in the context of the European integration, steps aimed at bringing perpetrators of international crimes to justice can also be identified. In particular, in the context of alignment Ukrainian legal system with EU acquis and standards under Chapter 23, Judiciary and Fundamental Rights, Ukraine will strengthen and improve the quality, independence, impartiality, and accountability of the judiciary and prosecution system. In the context of the Chapter 24, Justice, Freedom and Security, Ukraine will bring its law enforcement agencies, in particular prosecution and security agencies, into full compliance with the European standards. This includes standards of investigation, standards of collecting evidences with the guarantee of its preservation, extradition, judicial and law enforcement cooperation in criminal matters with the relevant authorities of the European countries. Dear colleagues, in conclusion, let me express my deepest gratitude and appreciation for your constant cooperation and provided assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyudmila Suhak, and please share with the resigned Minister Molluska my sincere gratitude for our friendship and cooperation. And to conclude our opening speeches, I would like to invite Vice President of European Commission for Values and Transparency, Ms. Vera Jourova. Take the floor.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Dobrovolska, dear Secretary General Penčinović-Burić, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank the Minister for hosting us here in Vilnius, although I skipped the dinner. Thank you anyway for inviting me, because it was due to the organizational need on our side. But anyway, thank you for hosting us here and for the organization of this conference with the Council of Europe. And thank you also for putting on its agenda so many important items, including the landmark Convention on Artificial Intelligence, which we just signed. The adoption of the new convention following negotiations with our partners in Europe and beyond confirms once again the invaluable contribution of the Council of Europe to the shaping of global rules on some of the most defining issues of our time. Technology, and this is also a case of AI, must be developed in line with our shared fundamental values. Or, if you prefer, people must remain at the center of the digital transformation. They should not be reduced to mere objects or data donors. It is the same commitment to the fundamental values that we share with our partners within the Council of Europe that guide us in our approach to the central topic of our meeting today, accountability for international crimes committed in Ukraine. When the world learned of the atrocities committed in Bucha 2 years ago, we vowed to everything in our power to bring the perpetrators to justice. Today we are talking of around 140,000 open cases on alleged atrocity crimes countrywide. For the victims, the families, for Ukraine, justice might feel more out of reach today than it has ever felt. But this is precisely why our coming together remains so important. As Russia's war of aggression continues, we must show how strong the international commitment is to accountability and the rule of law. Our message must remain clear and constant. The perpetrators of international crimes committed in Ukraine must not go unpunished. We will not allow it. And that involves a number of concrete operational steps. As we will discuss during the first session today, the collection and preservation of evidence during a war is extremely complicated. The European Union, following the invasion of Ukraine, concentrated some of its first efforts on addressing these specific evidentiary challenges. For example, through Eurojust, the EU's Agency for Criminal Justice Cooperation, we set up a tailor-made database to preserve, store and analyze evidence of core international crimes. To date, this database contains more than 2,000 files. We can see already that the system helps connecting the dots. It connects information and evidence from different jurisdictions. It can thereby identify structural patterns in warfare which could mount to crimes against humanity or war crimes. This data is already feeding into the work of a joint investigation team that was set up in March 2022 with Eurojust, Europol, 6 EU member states, Ukraine, and for the first time also the Office of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. This collective work has notably contributed to the arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court, including against President Putin. To echo what the International Criminal Court's Prosecutor General Karim Khan has said, out of the true darkness and suffering we have seen across Ukraine, the international community found new ways of working. We created new partnerships that only strengthen our common resolve in seeking justice. This is also true of the ongoing discussions of the establishment of a special tribunal for the crime of aggression that we will discuss this afternoon. The European Commission actively participates in these negotiations in the context of the so-called core group. Important progress has been achieved recently in these discussions, thanks also to the key contribution of the Council of Europe, to which I want to pay tribute. I am looking forward to our exchanges this afternoon, which should allow us to make further progress at the next meeting of the core group in Vienna on the 17th of September. I therefore thank the Lithuanian presidency for putting this important topic on the agenda of our meeting. Beyond laying the foundations for effective prosecutions, we must not forget that there cannot be justice without reparation. Russia must pay for the damage caused by its aggression against Ukraine. Here too, the contribution of the Council of Europe has been essential through the establishment of the Register of Damage to securely record evidence and information on claims for damages, injury, or loss suffered by Ukrainians. This is a first crucial step towards setting up an adjudication and compensation mechanisms in the years to come. From the start, the EU has strongly supported, including financially, the register. This is why I very much welcome the decision taken in July of this year to step up our commitment by becoming fully fledged participant of the register. It is in the same spirit that we are looking forward to contributing to the negotiations on the establishment of a claims commission. These different work strands represent more than a legal response to the Russian aggression. They are emblematic of a broader commitment to the rule of law and strong justice systems, which are part of common DNA of the EU and the Council of Europe. This is all the more important as unfortunately we have learned from developments over the past years that respect for the rule of law is not always a given at home and abroad. This is also why I also want to welcome the important steps recently taken by Ukraine to ratify the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. It notably sends a very powerful message on the importance of an international rules-based order and will strengthen our global effort to end impunity for the perpetrators of atrocity crimes. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Bucha and Irpin and many other places have risen from the ashes of Russian military occupation. Indeed, roofs have been repaired and schools rebuilt. But there are many scars that no amount of money can repair. Justice for victims is an essential part of a healing process that will take a generation, if not more. It is our responsibility to do everything we can to support this. It will not be easy, but it is not unachievable. Like the piecing together of any criminal case, it must be done in a systematic way, step by step. And the European Union, together with key international partners such as the Council of Europe, will remain by Ukraine's side. Slava Ukraini! Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jourova. And now, before we begin our first working session, I invite you to take the moment to stretch and also to join us for a family photo in Grand Courtyard of this palace. So please make sure you're there. We don't want to miss anyone in the photo.
Let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, welcome to the press conference of the Informal Conference of the Ministers of Justice of the Council of Europe. And to those who travel to Vilnius for this conference, welcome to Lithuania. Participating today at this meeting with the press, we have three distinguished guests. The Minister of Justice of the Republic of Lithuania, Ms. Evelina Dobrovolska, Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Ms. Maria Pejčinovič-Burić, and His Excellency Ambassador of Ukraine to the Republic of Lithuania, Ms. Petro Bešta. And we will begin the conference with short opening statements from today's speakers, after which we will open the floor to the questions by the press. So if I could ask Minister of Justice of the Republic of Lithuania to open with your opening statement.
Thank you very much. It's already working. So, Madam General Secretary, Mr. Ambassador, and members of press, it is my honor to welcome you in Vilnius, in Lithuania, enters the final stages of a presidency of Committee Minister of Council of Europe. From the day one, Lithuania's priorities for this presidency included all-out support for Ukraine, which is in general sense means the defense of freedom, democracy, human rights, and adherence to the principle of rule of law. I believe the Conference of Ministers of Justice of the Council of Europe in Vilnius, the country that stood, stands, and will continue to stand together with Ukraine by all possible means, reflect our unity and commitment to working together towards the reaching accountability for international crimes committed against and in Ukraine. Because Council of Europe, together with its member states and partners, have no choice but to defend all core values that Council of Europe represents and that was created to defend. International crimes continue to be committed in Ukraine every day, and recent brutal attack on Poltava proves that aggressor has no plans to stop. According to the information provided by Ukrainian NGOs, almost every fifth person in Ukraine is either a survivor or witness of war crimes. Yet the truth is even more profound. Every single Ukrainian is a victim of international crime of aggression committed by Russia. The precondition of establishment of special tribunal is clear: the blatant violation of UN Charter driven by imperial ideology. The international community at large agrees that Putin and his accomplices are responsible for the crime of aggression. But still, and for more than 2 years, we are still discussing modalities for the establishment of special tribunal for the crime of aggression committed against Ukraine. We have shown political will and pace with the establishment of International Center for Prosecution of a Crime of Aggression and expanding the Eurojust mandate in months. We have also shown consensus for steadfast and fast decision by establishing of a register of damage. For those reasons, I believe that with the contribution of Council of Europe, political will towards the establishment of special tribunal and cross-regional support of the partners will be consolidated. I count on today's discussion in Vilnius to remind why all we came here to Vilnius. Together with leadership of Ukraine friends, being a victim of a crime aggression, to make sure that impunity does not prevail, all perpetrators of international crimes are brought to the justice, and all damage made by aggression against Ukraine is being paid by the aggressor. Thank you very much.
Madam Secretary General of the Council of Europe, you now have the floor to make your statement. Thank you.
Minister, Ambassador, dear representatives of press, dear colleagues, I start by thanking the Lithuanian presidency of the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe and Minister Dobrovolska and her team for organizing this important conference. And before getting into the subject of the conference, let me thank for very warm hospitality and warm welcome here in the beautiful city of Vilnius. More than 2.5 years ago, and into Russian brutal and illegal war of aggression against Ukraine, the ministers of justice of our 46 member states have come together to discuss the next urgent measures required for ensuring accountability for the international crimes committed by Russia during this aggression. When the ministers met 1 year ago in Riga under the Latvian presidency, they paved the way for the establishment of a register of damage of Ukraine. The register was set up in record time and is now fully operational. It is a first and crucial step towards an international compensation mechanism, which our organization is ready to support in whatever way required. Compensation for victims is important, and so too is preventing impunity. The perpetrators must be held accountable in criminal courts, whether domestic or international. La communauté internationale a entamé des négociations sur la création d'un tribunal.
The international community has started its discussions on the establishment of the special tribunal, and the discussions have advanced quite a lot so far. One of the possible options is about a bilateral agreement between Ukraine and the Council of Europe. Today, during one of the sessions, we will discuss a number of opportunities of the possible cooperation. Whatever the decision, we will support it. Our organization is ready to act and to contribute to the respective actions, of course, if we are asked to do so. Most importantly, we must ensure that justice is served. This is a challenge faced by the international community. And the declaration that the ministers are going to sign will be one of the results of this conference and a very important step towards this direction. Under the auspices of this conference, we've also organized the signing of the new Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence, Human Rights and the Rule of Law. I am very grateful to the Lithuanian Minister of Justice and the Ministry of Justice for this crucial moment. Which marks which will be one of the highlights of the Lithuanian presidency, because the name of Vilnius will be always remembered while talking about the signing of this important treaty. Today, the treaty has been signed by 10 countries, and this is a promising start. I do hope that other countries will follow suit in order for this international treaty to... By the way, this treaty is also open to non-European countries as well. So in order for this treaty to come into force as soon as possible. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak, and now I'm ready for your questions.
The Republic of Lithuania, Mr. Petro Bešta. Mr. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Madam Minister, Madam Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express our gratitude to the Council of Europe and the Lithuanian presidency for organizing this important informal conference dedicated to the accountability for international crimes committed in Ukraine. The fight for justice is an integral part of the struggle to end this war and to build a sustainable peace, which is impossible without restoration of justice, holding accountable those responsible for atrocities and compensation for damage caused as a result of the aggression against Ukraine. Russia has never faced any responsibility for its atrocities in Moldova, Chechnya, Georgia, Ukrainian Crimea, Donetsk and Luhansk regions, Syria, Russians are acting in so inhumane and barbaric way because they are sure they can get away with their genocidal aggression against Ukraine as they did previously. In Poltava, the day before yesterday, 54 people were killed and around 300 were injured. Yesterday, in the heart of Lviv, as a result of the Russian attack, 7 people lost their lives, including mother with daughters, and 53 persons were injured. The responsibility of the aggressor state, as well as reparation and compensation for the injury and any damage caused by such acts, is our ultimate goal. We continue working towards the establishment of an international reparation mechanism, starting with the register of damage. One of the topics to be discussed today, the establishment of the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine, is an indispensable element of Step 7, Restoration of Justice, of Ukraine's peace formula by President Zelensky. Ukraine highly commends the leadership of the Council of Europe on the practical implementation of the accountability track and principled position on the key issues. We are very thankful for the tireless efforts of our Lithuanian friends and Lithuanian presidency in pushing hard the envelope of what is possible in these difficult times. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our panel for their statements, and we will now open the floor to questions from members of media. I would like to ask everyone who wants to ask a question to introduce themselves by name and a media organization, as well as mention whether a question is directed to specifically one of the panelists or all of them, and if you would like to ask a question in Lithuanian or other languages than English. So do we have any questions?
Good afternoon, Paulius from BNS, Baltic News Service. Question is for Mrs. General Secretary. You mentioned 2 documents, one treaty that was signed by 10 countries today and one that will be signed later on. Could you please expand on what is the content of the documents? Thank you.
That was open for the signature was the treaty on the AI and human rights, democracy and the rule of law. And I use this opportunity to say that we are very grateful because with these negotiations, it was also very important for the organization as we have around 70 different actors working on that. Including not only 46 member states, all our state observer states, but also a number of other countries around the world, among which some signed this morning, like the United States of America, Israel, and some others. We had also our private sector and civil society present. So it took quite a while because we started negotiations, a feasibility study and then negotiations during the pandemic, and it was a little bit slowed down, but we are glad that finally in March we ended with everyone agreeing that we need this treaty, that we need it very quickly. So I'm very glad that the Lithuanian presidency and the minister herself were eager to organize this signature here in Vilnius. It was not easy for countries to prepare for signatures because it requires certain legal actions back home, but we did have 10 signatures today, and I really hope there were few more that were discussed whether they will arrive. So I'm sure that the others will continue because in my very humble view, this is a treaty that we need very quickly. That we need 5 countries to ratify, among which 3 countries to come from the Council of Europe, and that this will happen soon because, as you can imagine, especially the generative AI develops very quickly, and unless we have a legal framework and we could apply it not only in Europe, but also around the world, it may develop in a way that will make irreparable damage to the human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. The other treaty was not really the treaty. It was something that the ministers will discuss today, which is on accountability path, where I mentioned a Riga ministerial last year, where it was launched at the Register for Damage, which was the first legally binding step towards the accountability of Russia for crimes committed in Ukraine, was established. And as I told you, the register is up and running, and it continues working, but it's only the first step in the overall compensation mechanism that was in a way also mentioned by both other speakers. So what we do to have, but as international community, not Council of Europe only, is the indemnization mechanism, which should comprise, after the register, the Commission for claims, and then the fund for that. So that's one path to be followed for accountability, and the other one will be very much discussed today, which is the possible establishment of the Special Tribunal on the Crime of Aggression. We have been working on that since quite a while. I was in what was my first visit after the start of aggression to Ukraine with President Zelensky, when he first launched this idea that, as some call it, the mother of all crimes in this, the crime of aggression, that this special tribunal should be set up. So since then, we will be at the Council of Europe thinking whether we could be the one of the fora that can organize that with Ukraine and other partners, or the other options would serve the purpose that the justice is done better than this. So this continues, and these discussions continue in what is called the core group, which is comprises around 40 different actors, and the Council of Europe participates at those meetings, giving the possibilities how, if the choice of one of the possible paths to be followed to establish this special tribunal for the crime of aggression in Ukraine would be on the basis of bilateral agreement between Ukraine and the Council of Europe. So what the ministers will discuss today in length is different possibilities, but the real decision on what, if and what and how this special tribunal will be set up would be taken within this core group of 40 countries. But the Council of Europe, and I mentioned it, will be ready and eager to play whatever role for the Council of Europe would be there as a party to this possible special bilateral agreement with Ukraine or other. And we have been played and been helpful in that, and we are very glad that in this horrible time for Ukraine, but also for whole Europe, and I would say also whole world, that we could repeat that Council of Europe was made after the Second World War for peace in Europe. And now when we have a fully fledged war that really ravages the ambassador was mentioning only last 2 days what happens, or a few days, which is horrible, but all these 2.5 and more years, the horrible things are happening. I've been witnessing that several times in my visits to Ukraine, and I really believe that the Council of Europe is the right place to say that we need a peace, but we need just peace. The peace formula for President Zelensky was mentioned. It makes part of that. So we will be, I think it's within our mandate to make, whatever we can do, make it possible to have the fora in which justice could be done, because only just and sustainable peace can be achieved if these will be put in place and workable. And I hope as soon as possible we will get there, and Ukraine will have well-deserved peace, but just peace in Ukraine.
Thank you. We had one more question here. Can I invite you to the microphone on the side?
Hello, Janet Anderson, freelance. I'm also directing again to the Secretary General. Do you think that a bilateral agreement with Ukraine on this issue would provide a sufficiently international character to such a tribunal, or would it be open for states to sign up also as individual characters? And then how many states need to sign up, reminding you that the ICC needed 60 ratifications in order to launch?
Yeah. Well, thank you for this question, because this exactly was the core issue since we started thinking about this possible avenue. And we always say we believe it needs strong international support. And in our view, should be as much as possible. How many would be, that I cannot tell, but we certainly would, that's why I think the core group has a difficult task to think what would be really the best way to organize it. But we are, as I said, we are ready to support whatever path would be. So certainly our role would be the biggest if we sign this bilateral agreement. But I think with the knowledge and the expertise that we have, you know, that we have the court, we deal with some issues that relate to accountability and also related to this war of aggression. So we certainly can provide expertise in many ways, and we are ready to do so. But the core group really has several, I said it at the conference opening, there are few issues that are actually very important, because I think what we want and what Ukraine needs is that whatever fora is this tribunal is set up within, is that it's efficient and it can really render justice what is needed for healing of wounds that will last for a long time. But without the justice, I think I can only repeat, it cannot be done. So there are issues open, and I think this is why precisely this conference was very much needed, and that's why we are so grateful to Lithuania to take it onwards, because some of the issues that are discussed here have been discussed also within the core group and will continue to be so. So to some of the questions you have, no one has the answer, but from the Council of Europe side, I can say that really we believe we have some, you know, and you ask whether there can be more parties. You know, one of the reasons why we were quick and we were the only one to provide the answer to have quick accountability legal path with the register of damage is because Council of Europe has this special legal instrument which is called enlarged partial agreements, and that in reality translates into the fact that not every 46 member states has to be the party, but anyone else who wishes around the world can join in, of course, under certain conditions. And of course, we were willing and wishing to have more countries around the world also joining the register. The register has now 44 participants. We really believe that more of those who were voting for the 2022 November resolution of the UN General Assembly could be also possibly joining the register. So there is more work, I think, for all of us, countries individually and international organizations, to work to assist Ukraine in that path, because more we get on board, more international actors, I think the better the result of these accountability exercises will be. So I really do hope that in the future we will have more, and that the special tribunal will have a larger support.
Thank you. I saw we had 2 more questions here.
I'm Edvardas Špokas from LRT, Lithuanian National TV. For all panelists, I would like to ask about this special international tribunal for the crime of aggression. And you mentioned it, but I would like more challenges to ask you. What is, and do you still believe that it can be established, because it's too long, 2 years, just discussions about it, and the main challenges, can you explain?
Maybe we can start from left to right, Mr. Ambassador.
We believe that it can be established and it should be established. From the strategic perspective, the world unfortunately is changing to more turmoil, to more instability, and that means that we all have to adapt to this new reality, and we have to build or rebuild new architecture of justice, including because it has not only a sense in establishing justice for the victims of aggression, but also as a mechanism of preventing future aggressions for any other country, so that we have to establish a very resilient and strong architecture which will make the accountability and justice 100% sure for all victims, and that would mean that every potential aggressor in the future will have to think twice if he understands that that will come. So absolutely, it's a core element of our peace plan, and it's a responsibility of European institutions to ensure that Europe has necessary mechanisms which are adapted to the challenges of the present and of the future.
I would like to add maybe saying that I don't think there is any possibility not to establish one. We have international law, and we do believe in international law, not because it's a nice idea to have those rules of international law we agreed on. It's the actually lessons we learn from our bloody history, but actually only having international law which actually works in practice, it means we can trust each other. We can still have neighbors, and we can know in the way we act. So I do believe if we speak about a special tribunal regarding the aggression in Ukraine, the only answer to have special tribunal, which actually not only a regional one. It's not only responsibility of one region to seek for justice for Ukraine. It's an international matter. It's about how we can ensure that actual international law works. The best example, as we can see, ICC moved very fast. We already have arrest warrant, 6 of them. One is for the Putin. Despite this fact, we have one of the country of ICC member, Mongolia, still hosting a Putin with a red carpet, but not with arrest. So that's the challenges we are facing, and I do believe as long as we wait for the final decision to establish special tribunal, it's going to be, I would say, more crucial results we can see in not only in Ukraine, but in other countries as well, because there is now no possibility to stop Putin. And we should speak not only about legal ways, but also about how to make sure international community still do believe in the things we are saying as politicians, as lawyers and judges as well.
Well, thank you for giving me a little bit more to explain. And I agree completely with predecessors. You know, we need to tackle this issue of the crime of aggression. It has been discussed quite extensively within the international legal circles, and there were different opinions before. And I think this horrible war that happened and the way how it evolves shows that it has come the time to have it. So I agree with the minister that I hope this time the international community will have an answer and find a way. When I say that, I don't say it is easy. So it will certainly require some more discussions. You are also right that it lasts quite for a while. But this, I think, the purpose of this exercise that it takes time is for whatever is decided to be compliant with the international law. The minister spoke about non-complying with the international law. This is what we see, but I believe firmly that if we had this kind of tribunal already, that would serve as a deterrent to a certain degree, and the one that should be established certainly should serve the purpose not only healing and taking those the most responsible for these horrible atrocities happening to Ukraine and its people, that they are brought before justice, and that, but also to serve the purpose for the future possible aggressions, that it deter, that it clearly says if you do so, if you walk that part, if you cross that red line, you will be punished, and severely. So in that respect, you were asking for the challenges. I was also speaking a little bit during my introductory speech. For this, I will mention just two important issues that are tackled. One is immunities, and the other one is the definition of the crime of aggression. And I repeat, and I also was very clear in my introductory speech, if we want to have something to have, as my colleagues, lawyers would say, bulletproof, so that you can really go out with something and be sure that it's 100% according to the laws, that no one can question that. I think that would be very very important for the future of work of this tribunal. So there is still some work to be done. Challenges how to define these issues and others, and to always be within the rule of law, because coming from the Council of Europe, that is the beacon of protection of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. I cannot underline the importance of whatever we find as a solution and possible pathway, a pathway to follow. It has to be legally sound, and I think this is unfortunately why it takes more than what I think anyone around that table, or Manco group, would have wished, but we have to work on that.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, Madam Minister, Madam Secretary General. I have to note that with these answers we are unfortunately out of time and have to continue with the conference. I would like to remind to everyone that the press offices of all of the organizations represented here remain open to expand on all of the subjects touched upon or to answer to more questions. Thank you for your time and your questions, and enjoy the rest of the conference.